In this video, we are going to be talking about some cultural shocks that we've had. And myself and Mindy spent all of our lives in Ghana, and we only moved here to Canada a couple of years ago, so it hasn't been too long. And you might be asking, what is a cultural shock and what's its relevance? So, cultural shock is basically the idea that you have a way of living in Ghana, and you come to a country that has a completely different way of living, and there is some kind of new things that you never really knew, or things that you've always known but never paid attention to, and it can come in different varieties of experiences, and sometimes it can be quite shocking. So I guess that's why we have the word cultural shock. So let's actually start with Mindy. I know I came here first, but since I am the interviewer, I can ask myself a question first. So, Mindy, how about you tell us something? So you came here, I think, is it 2 years ago?
It hasn't been 2 years, but it's almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years. Wow.
I know, right? Like time. Where did the time go?
Wow, crazy, right? It's very crazy. So, like, what was one of the first things you experienced after you stepped in the airport in Ghana? What was your experience like?
My experience in Canada has been so far amazing. So I'm going to start from the couple of things that shocked me, like from the beginning.
Sure.
So for me, the very first thing that was the cultural shock for me was the weather.
Okay. What about the weather? What
My
season did you
God,
arrive?
it's so fucking cold. So I came in November, and it was like nearing winter, because winter is in and you when you came to pick me at the airport, you were not wearing any jacket.
Yeah. So
Do you remember that?
yeah, the thing about me is like I sometimes whenever you're dressing up, like there's a good reason to pick some clothes, and there's your personal desire to wear some clothes, and sometimes those two things don't align. The thing about me is sometimes my personal desire to wear certain clothes can, supersede the need to
My
wear
God.
good clothes.
It was so cold, and I was trying to understand why this gentleman was without jacket. Because when I got the cold hit me
It
when
was
I
a
got
bit
to,
sunny.
but it was cold. I arrived around 4 p.m., almost 5 p.m. So it was already dark by then. And yeah, I'm going to even talk about that later. The first wave of cold I experienced was at the Netherlands airport. What's the name of that airport again? Schiphol. That cold was serious, but then I was able to manage it. And then I got to Canada airport via YVR, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then everything inside was okay, but immediately I came out, when you came to meet me, the cold breeze that passed over my body. Oh my God. I was like, it's so cold. Joseph was like, oh, it's not that really cold. It was sunny. The weather is pretty. I was like, are you serious? I'm just
Because I remember that day. That day wasn't very cold. It was very sunny that day. Because I remember.
And I'm coming from Ghana.
Yeah, for you it would be very.
It was
It would be
so
very
cold.
Yeah.
So the first thing,
And you also have to remember that at the airport there is a lot of wind.
it was so windy. So like
Yeah.
the cold breeze was just like, I don't even know what to say. It was bad. I didn't like the cold back then. And you remember for the first 1 week, I didn't want to go out. I always wanted to be in the room. Yeah. So the second shock for me, still about the weather, but then it was concerning us and when the sun shines and when the sun like sets. So I got to the airport around 4 p.m. and it was already dark. Like it was getting dark. So at the time we got the car, we were moving, it was completely dark, and it was around just 5:30 p.m. I'm like, are you serious? In Ghana the sun sets around 6:30.
Mm-hmm.
And it's already 5 and it's dark, like it's completely dark. You're going to think it's 8 p.m. So when we were in the car, we were coming, I asked you, asked me, what time do I think it is? And I'm like, it's 8 p.m. And you're like, no, it's just 5. I'm like, why is it dark? And then I experienced that same shock when it's summer. When it's summer and it's 8 p.m. or 9 p.m., the sun is still in the air as if like it's 12 noon. So that one too was another shock for me, because the only thing I knew was morning, sunlight, evening, night. I didn't know that it could be evening and it could still be bright. So my shock during summer was epic. Like I couldn't even hide it.
My experience a little bit I think it's at the other side of the aisle when it comes to how you experience it, because I came here in 2019. That was before COVID, and it was in August, so that was like a few days before September, maybe like a week before September. So there was still a little tiny flicker of summer still in the air. So when I arrived from the airport, what time did I arrive? I believe it was in the afternoon. I arrived in the afternoon, sometime around 1 p.m., and the sun was obviously in the sky, and it was nice. One of the first things that hits me as soon as I came out of the airport was the skies. The skies are so much different than it was in Ghana. It's much clearer,
Bluer.
it's more like, you know how when you watch like movies on an old television, and all of a sudden you get a really high quality television, everything's just brighter and everything.
So Ghana is the old television. Yeah, that
Kind
was.
of, that's kind of the way I felt about that. The sky was really bright, and the clouds were were gorgeous. I spent so much time just looking at the sky and just enjoying, admiring the clouds, and then everything. I felt like there weren't as many birds here as they were in Ghana. I felt like there weren't as many animals, right? Because like in Ghana, you'd have animals everywhere, right? There are birds everywhere. You'd hear like
The
a
goats,
goat
the
bleed
dogs.
somewhere. You hear some dogs barking somewhere else. Like there was just always the sound of nature. Even in the city, you would tend to hear it, because at the very least, even if you don't have like livestock in the city, you'd have birds flying around, and they can get quite loud. And it's white noise, right? It's white noise in Ghana. No one really pays attention to that, and I'd be very surprised anyone coming here and that would be one of the things they experience as a new thing. But I guess it was something I was paying attention to, so I noticed that it was awfully quiet.
Okay.
And then so yeah, that's my first impression. The skies were nice. The air is fresh.
Why are you saying it like that? The air in Ghana is not fresh. We don't like that too.
Oh no, like dude, there's fresh and there's fresh, oh Charlie.
Okay, so that was my first cultural shock, and you also said your own. So the second thing that was a cultural shock to me was what was it? Okay, so for me, I complained about that a lot, but Joseph kept saying that it was because of. But you know how back home, like when you are speaking to anybody at all, be it your age mate, your colleague, or whatever, we always want to say, "Oh, me pacho, yewe mami. Oh, pacho, yewe mami," which means, "Oh, please do this. Oh, please do that. Oh, please do this." And then when the person does the thing, you go ahead and be like, "Oh, me that's it," which also means thank you. But then I got here, and then I'm like, these people are so disrespectful. What the? Do you know how old I am? A grandma. You go to work or you interact with people, and they just talk to you like they just let it out. Oh, pick that from me. Hey, do this. Like it just comes out like that. And for me, someone coming from Ghana, precisely an African country, I saw that to be so disrespectful. Like it was the highest disrespect in my opinion, because I felt like you were ordering me around, or like I felt like you were ordering me around, or like you feel like, oh, this girl, I can just tell her what to do, right? And then to me, in as much as maybe you are my manager or you're my boss, or maybe you're an elderly person or whatever, we say please to everybody. That even if I don't even want to say please to you, it's like default, it just comes. Even if I'm talking to Joseph, I just like, oh Joseph, can you please do this for me? Not because I want to say please, but like it's in the language. So that was another thing I also experienced that really took me off. Like I was always complaining to Joseph. Joseph was like, you have to understand this. This place is not like Ghana. The fact that the person didn't say please does not mean that they are intentionally being disrespectful. But like automatically that's how it comes off to me. As the person being rude and disrespectful, and the fact that you're just ordering me around. It didn't sit well with me. But I think I'm getting used to it now. But still, the funny thing is that I've had a couple of customers who use please like the way I use please. Like I'm like, Like they come in like, can I please have this, please? When you give it to them, you're like, thank you. Can I please have this? I'm like, Joseph, it's not the country, it's the people, like the individual person.
Yeah, and I agree with you, right? Like just like you described, for many of you who do not know how Ghana is,
Ghana is a please country.
yeah, like it's basically what everybody thinks Canada is. Right? I mean, yeah, you probably already know this, but everybody sees Canada as the most polite country in the world. It's like a stereotype, like they are really, really
I've
nice
heard
and
that
sweet.
before.
You can think of Ghana as like, basically the same thing. Politeness is stemmed within our languages, like uh, the way Mindy described, right? Like you'd say please and it would be automatic. It's because that's how we're brought up, and our language makes it very easy for us to include like some level of politeness in almost everything that we do. And then there's also the lifestyle of having to greet elderly people, and having a really specific way of how to address them.
Before you continue,
and
please let me just chip this in. You know, when I started working, there was this lady who was so nice. I think she was a Filipino lady, and she's like elderly. Like she's elderly in terms of age, and she's also like higher in rank in the workplace, right?
Okay.
So there was this one time I was talking to her, and I was like, sometimes I don't know what to call her name, but I was like, Madam. She was like, hey, no, don't call me Madam. I'm like, hey, the way Ghanaians we crave for that. She was like, no, don't call me Madam. And she mentioned her name. I should call her by her name. I felt so bad. I was like, oh my God, what did I do? Like, in my mind, I'm calling her Madam. I'm according her the necessary respect. She's like, no, she wants to be addressed. She's not that old. Like, why am I calling her Madam? I was so shocked.
Yeah, that's true, right? So I guess you have a fair idea of how Ghana is like, and so obviously coming from a place like that, and then coming to a place like this, where politeness is just, it's an icing on the cake, right? It's not a necessity to communication. Is and the idea is, there's also like this I believe there's this idea that you do not you don't need to be polite to somebody to show respect to them, right? The fact that they're asking you to do something just means they need you to do the thing. There's no reason why anybody should be worried or be thinking about being polite or someone being disrespected or not. Like, it's just that. But the point you are making, for me, when I came here, I guess I had a better understanding of the lifestyle here before I came, so I wasn't really surprised by people not saying, like please and thank you. And honestly, I feel like in Canada they even do it way more than other countries, like the US. In Canada they do it more, but obviously they don't do it as much as we have experienced.
Yeah.
So anything slightly short of
Short
what
of
we've
that.
had in Ghana would seem like, wow, people are so rude here, when in actual fact they are not. So it was kind of challenging to help Mindy understand that, dude, they're not being disrespectful to you.
No, but like some of them were actually being disrespectful. So if you remove that part, some of them were not being disrespectful.
But life is easier if you just choose not to even pay attention to any of that, right? Because like, I mean, like, who cares whether someone is disrespectful or not? Like, I just want to go home. I just want to work, get money, and go home.
That's
you know.
When I go to work, I'm just thinking of how fast the time is going to go for me to go home. I love the comfort of my home. So the third thing, the first was the weather, the second was the way people had like talk, respect, and then the third thing I also noticed was that, I don't know if it's everywhere, I don't know if people ask that, but personally, because of where I'm coming from, I went on ahead to ask a couple of colleagues that, oh, when were you born? Which was day names, right? And they were like, they'll give me the date of the month. Like, they'll be like, maybe I was born on 6th May. I'm like, okay, but like which day? Was it a Monday or something? They're like, they don't know. I'm like, huh? You don't know the day you were born? How is that even possible? Because back home in Ghana, day names is and was a big deal. It still is a big deal. Like, you give birth to a child and you give the child a Christian name, the surname, the day name, and then there's something we call in Samrani name. Like, some Namneria is like the way we call people Nana. That is in Samran, like just giving the person's kind of. So when I asked a couple of people and they said they don't know the day that they were born, I was shocked because I was like, I thought it was a universal thing. You know, if you are, if you are in your farm and you think your farm is big and you haven't gone to another person's farm, you think your farm is the biggest farm, right? So in my mind, I thought it was a universal thing. You know that people didn't know the day they were born.
Yeah, like it's a cultural thing. So in Ghana, depending on which day you were born, which day of the week you were born, you get a name, and there are a list of names. There are male names and female names for each day. And if you're very interested, you can go to Wikipedia. You should see all of them there. And they vary slightly depending on which ethnic group it is, because each ethnic group has a different thing. Yes, it's true. Like a lot of people don't know
the day
they were born. They are not aware, and it's very interesting because whenever I come across someone who is like genuinely curious about my culture, my origin and stuff like that, and I tell them a little bit about that, they go like, dude, I want a day name too,
yeah.
you know?
So I had to give a couple of people day names because they didn't have it. So I asked them and they'll be like, okay, so some of them they give me the date, then they have to go and check which day it was because they have no idea what the day was. So if I get it, I give them the name.
Just do, hey Google, which day was I born, and Google will tell you which day it is.
Okay. And then the fourth thing was church buildings. I don't know if I've mentioned this to you before, but you hardly see church buildings on the streets. Like, you know, Ghana, anywhere you pass, any corner, you see a church building, Church of God Assemblies, no weapon form against you, something. Mountain, like, there's always a church
Mountain
at every corner. But then here, I wasn't. So when I came, I was actively looking for a church, but then I couldn't find. Like, you have to know this church and know the place to know. But then you can't just be like, oh, I was just walking and I saw this church and then I just no. Like, you don't have the church buildings just by the streets like that. The church buildings on the streets in Ghana, like, you just walk 5 or 10 minutes and you've seen like maybe 3 or 4 church buildings, and the names are always Who Killed Jesus? Who Killed Jesus Charismatic Church?
Yeah, like,
So that was another shock for me. The fact that church buildings were not like scattered all over the places.
I'm quite confident that I'm about to say I'm quite confident that Christianity might not be the number one religion in Canada, but I doubt it because Christianity is really big, right? But the point I'm trying to make is that like over here it's much more diverse. The culture is so diverse here.
Yeah, everybody's from
And
some place.
even if Christianity was the number one religion, I bet you that people who do not have any ties to any religion are probably outnumber like
The number of
any
Christians.
particular region by multiple folds, right? There are just a lot of people here who don't have any ties to any religion. There are some people who were born into a religion but are not actively practicing it. There are many people from different parts of the world, and just because of that fact, like, there wouldn't be as many churches, right? Because not many people are going to church, and I guess that really explains it. But another reason could also be that in Canada, everything is very planned out, like so well planned out that it just you just wouldn't find anything where it is not supposed to be.
Now that you are saying that, it takes me back to the fact that you said you had a shock of how the Google Maps works so good over here.
Yes. Google
Like,
Maps.
everything is so planned.
Google Maps is amazing here. It's crazy. Like, if you want to go somewhere within the city, you just need to put it inside of Maps, and it will tell you where to walk to, how long you need to wait for a bus to show up.
Oh, and the buses.
The bus will take you to the SkyTrain. You get into the SkyTrain, the train, and everything is just so well planned out. That's like, so long as you have internet and you have Google Maps, chances of you getting lost is very, very, like, it's almost zero, right? It's really, really good. You can find almost anything that is online with Google Maps, and Google Maps will properly direct you to where you want to go. But the buses here, I know.
We'll come to the buses. We'll come to the buses. The buses are another thing altogether. another thing. So we'll talk about this other thing. Then we'll talk about the buses.
Okay.
Then I think we'll wrap up our video. I have a couple of small, but those are just little things. It doesn't have. So the fifth or sixth, I don't know if you have lost count, is the fact that here, when you say you buy something, it means you buy it on credit. You know, for me and for us back home, anything you have, we do credit, but not like the way it's done over here. Everything you buy, you have to buy it cash. If you want to get a new phone, you have to have your money. If it's 1,500 Ghana cedi, 2,500 Ghana cedi, you go, you pay, and then you take your phone. If it's a car, you pay and then you take your phone. Even houses, we don't buy houses like the way we mostly build houses. We don't buy. So the concept of mortgage is not something that we have back home, at least in Ghana. I don't know for other African countries. But then over here, oh my God, credit. Somebody, you see somebody with a new phone, never think that the person bought it. The person is paying for 2 years or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So that too was also a shock to me, because we are so, and it is so, like Joseph is so used to that even now that he's in a country that runs on credit, he buys everything on cash. He doesn't want to buy it with credit.
Mm-hmm.
Like if he wants to get a new phone, he make sure he has the money. But because that act of paying for your phone and that internet thing too, I'm going to leave that for you to talk about, because you are the one who is more vested. You have to be paying every month. Like, it's different from rent and utilities. That one is fine. But then having to pay for your phone, maybe your phone internet is fine, but like having to buy the phone and you've not fully paid for the phone, and you have to be paying for the phone for the next 1 year or something.
Yes.
It's insane. It's something I don't think I can ever do that. If I want to buy a phone, I want to buy the phone and know that it's mine.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. So over to you about the internet stuff and everything. You are the one who's talking about it.
Yeah, let me just say a little bit about the ownership of stuff, right? In Ghana, we do have mortgages.
We do?
Yeah, we do. It's just that it's not as popular, right? It's not something that it's very, very rare.
And people like to brag about the fact that I build my own house.
Yeah, and people, everybody that I know, I personally haven't met anybody who went for a mortgage to build their house
in Ghana.
I don't know
everybody
anyone.
just builds their house.
By the